The top 10 devastating impacts of both illegal and legal immigration in America are a documented and accelerating reality. The record-shattering influx since 2020 and the relentless escalation over the last 50 years are transforming America in critical ways. Every one of these problems has grown worse with each new wave, and together they form an airtight case against continued mass immigration in any form. America does not need more immigrants. It needs to protect what remains of the nation its founders built. Start with number 1, demographic transformation. Since the 1965 immigration overhaul, and especially after 2020, legal immigration combined with illegal border crossings has engineered the fastest demographic replacement in human history. Native-born Americans of European descent are already a minority in many states and will be nationwide within a generation. This is not diversity. It is the deliberate erasure of the population that created the world's most successful republic. Neighborhoods that were once cohesive and familiar now feel foreign. Holidays, traditions, and shared history are diluted or replaced. The very concept of an American people is under assault, and the transformation guarantees that the country of tomorrow will bear no resemblance to the country of yesterday. Second, crime and safety have collapsed wherever immigration surges. Illegal immigrants commit crimes at rates far exceeding their population share. Cartels, MS-13, and transnational gangs operate with impunity across sanctuary cities. Fentanyl and other deadly drugs pour across the border, killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. Terror watchlist encounters have skyrocketed since 2020. American citizens are murdered, assaulted, and robbed by individuals who should never have been here. Police departments are overwhelmed, courts are backlogged, and prisons are packed with non-citizens. Public spaces once safe for families are now no-go zones after dark. This is not occasional bad luck. It is the predictable result of importing millions from regions with vastly different standards of law and order. Third, the economic damage is catastrophic. Immigrants, legal and illegal, take jobs that once sustained working-class Americans. Construction, manufacturing, service industries, and agriculture have been flooded. Wages stagnate or fall while housing and living costs explode. Employers prefer cheaper foreign labor, and native workers are displaced to the margins. The net fiscal drain is enormous. Immigrants consume far more in government services than they pay in taxes. Schools, hospitals, and welfare offices buckle under the load. Taxpayers foot the bill for education, healthcare, food stamps, and housing subsidies that flow disproportionately to immigrant households. The middle class shrinks while the underclass expands. Fourth, housing is in free fall. Millions of immigrants have created an artificial demand crisis. Multiple families cram into single-family homes and apartments, turning quiet suburbs into overcrowded tenements. Rents skyrocket, homeownership slips further from reach for young Americans, and infrastructure, roads, water, sewers, cracks under the weight. Neighborhoods that once offered stability now suffer blight, noise, and decay. Fifth, welfare dependency accelerates national bankruptcy. Despite claims to the contrary, both legal and illegal immigrant populations use welfare programs at higher rates than natives. Medicaid, SNAP, Section 8, and public schooling absorb billions annually. States like California, New York, and Texas hemorrhage money trying to provide services that were never designed for endless inflows. The debt burden grows, future generations are mortgaged, and the social safety net collapses for the citizens it was meant to serve. Sixth, political takeover is already underway. Immigrants obtain legal status, then citizenship, then voting rights. They win local, state, and federal offices. Once in power, they immediately push for more immigration. Chain migration, amnesty, refugee admissions, creating an unstoppable feedback loop. Voting patterns shift decisively toward big government policies that reward dependency. Red states turn purple, purple states turn blue, and the electoral map is rewritten forever. American democracy is being imported away from the people who built it. Seventh, culture and standards erode daily. English is no longer the universal language in schools, workplaces, or government offices. Foreign customs clash with American norms. Crime, corruption, and entitlement attitudes imported from origin countries lower the bar for everyone. Educational outcomes decline. Public decorum disappears. The rule of law itself weakens when large populations view laws as optional. Eighth, community cohesion vanishes. Trust, the invisible glue of society, dissolves as tribal enclaves form. Instead of assimilation, immigrants cluster by ethnicity, speak their own languages, and maintain parallel societies hostile to the broader culture. Neighbors become strangers. Social capital collapses. Crime rises in these pockets and resentment festers on all sides. Ninth, weaponized grievances fuel endless conflict. Immigrants and their activist leaders peddle narratives of historical victimhood, often exaggerated or fabricated, to extract power, reparations, and special privileges. These grievances justify anti-American rhetoric, affirmative action, and institutional capture. Power struggles erupt in schools, corporations, and government as identity groups compete rather than unite. 10th, the total effect is a lower quality society. Life becomes harder, more dangerous, more expensive, and less pleasant. Standards of living, education, safety, and trust plummet. The American dream slips away not because of some mysterious force, but because mass immigration imports the very problems America once escaped. These 10 realities are interlocking and self-reinforcing. The surge since 2020 has simply poured gasoline on a fire lit 50 years ago. Every new arrival compounds the damage. Legal immigration feeds the same pipeline as illegal crossings. Chain migration, birthright citizenship, and political self-interest guarantee escalation. There is no upside that outweighs the destruction. America does not owe the world its future. It owes its citizens the preservation of their homeland. The solution is simple and non-negotiable. Immediate halt to all immigration, legal and illegal, until the problems are reversed. Mass deportations, border security, ended chain migration, ended birthright citizenship for non-citizens, English-only requirements, and strict assimilation policies are the only path back. Anything less is surrender. The top 10 criticisms are not warnings. They are the current condition of the United States. The time to act is now, before the transformation becomes irreversible and America is lost forever. Top 10 criticisms of both illegal and legal immigration in America. Here is the combined ranked top 10 list of all major criticisms and problems drawn from every issue raised: demographic change, voting shifts, welfare dependency, language barriers, safety threats, crime spikes, cultural erosion, rule changes, communication breakdowns, job displacement, wage suppression, economic strain, housing overcrowding, multifamily overcrowding in units, societal decline, lowered standards, shattered community cohesion, chain migration escalation, immigrant capture of jobs/government/power, leading to more immigration, tribalism, subjective/fraudulent historical grievances, weaponized for dominance, enclave formation, power conflicts, and neighborhood transformations, focused especially on the explosive surge since 2020 and the broader escalation over the last 50 years. 1. Demographic transformation and loss of national identity. Mass immigration fundamentally alters America's ethnic, racial, and cultural makeup, erasing the historic European-descended majority that built the nation. 2. Crime and public safety collapse. Illegal and legal immigrants drive disproportionate spikes in violent crime, gangs, drugs, and terrorism, making streets and communities far more dangerous. 3. Economic displacement, wage suppression, and job theft. Immigrants flood labor markets, take American jobs, depress wages, and impose massive net fiscal costs through welfare and services. 4. Housing crisis and overcrowding strain. Immigrants pack multiple families into single homes and apartments, skyrocketing rents, collapsing availability, and degrading neighborhoods. 5. Welfare dependency and fiscal ruin. Immigrants disproportionately consume welfare, healthcare, education, and entitlements, bankrupting taxpayers and state budgets. 6. Political takeover, voting manipulation, and chain migration escalation. Immigrants secure jobs, citizenship, elected office, and government positions, then import millions more while shifting voting blocs permanently leftward. 7. Cultural erosion, rule-breaking, and societal standards decline. Immigrants import incompatible values, erode English as the common language, ignore or change American rules, and lower overall standards of behavior, education, and civility. 8. Breakdown of community cohesion and rise of tribal enclaves. Immigrants form hostile ethnic enclaves, destroy social trust, and replace unified American identity with fractured tribalism. 9. Weaponized grievances and power conflicts. Immigrants and their descendants exploit subjective, often fraudulent historical grievances to demand power, sow division, and dominate institutions. 10. Overall societal lowering and quality of life collapse. The cumulative effect of all the above produces a permanent decline in America's safety, prosperity, cohesion, and livability, with no end in sight under current policies. Conclusion: legal and illegal immigration harms America. The devastating impacts of both legal and illegal immigration have converged into an existential crisis for America. What began as policy choices decades ago has accelerated into a self-reinforcing cycle of demographic erasure, surging crime, economic displacement, housing collapse, welfare bankruptcy, political subversion, cultural disintegration, communal breakdown, grievance-driven conflict, and overall societal decline. These 10 interlocking realities are not distant warnings. They define the lived experience of millions of Americans today, intensified by the record-shattering influx since 2020 and the relentless escalation of the past 50 years. Every new arrival compounds the damage, feeding the very mechanisms that accelerate transformation. America does not need more immigrants. It needs to protect what remains of the sovereign nation its founders envisioned. The solution is clear and urgent: an immediate, total halt to all immigration, legal and illegal, paired with mass deportations, secure borders, an end to chain migration and birthright citizenship for non-citizens, English-only policies, and uncompromising assimilation requirements. Anything less is surrender. The time to act is now, before the irreversible transformation is complete and the America of yesterday is lost forever to the problems it once escaped. The top 10 criticisms are not opinions. They are the current condition of the United States, and the final warning to save it.